to the What One Thing podcast, where we ask successful people what made a difference in their lives and careers. I am so excited to welcome to the pod a dear friend and smart woman winner, Natasha Miller. Hey, Natasha.
Hello, JT. Hello, everyone.
Now, Natasha is the founder and CEO of Entire Productions here in San Francisco, but she's also in Los Angeles and New York City, and she could be anywhere on any given day. She's just released her second book, Corporate Event Mastery, and she is a Renaissance woman. I will tell you, she started her career as a jazz artist. Her company has hit the Inc. 5000 4 times and is one of Entrepreneur Magazine's top 360 companies. She's a dedicated philanthropist supporting our friends at Search Foundation and Covenant House. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, Natasha, we're going to talk about how you went from artist to entrepreneur. What did the journey feel like? Was there an aha moment for you?
There wasn't. Honestly, I was playing classical violin from the time I was 15. My first paid gig was for the governor's inauguration in Des Moines, Iowa. And then in high school, late high school and early college, I started putting together string quartets and playing at corporate and social events, and then started hiring my professors and people from the symphony. I didn't have any idea that I was starting a business. I didn't know that I was an entrepreneur. By the way, we did not use that word back then. That meant you're out of a job. It was not a very good title. Now I wear it like a badge of honor. And then I was doing so many events in 4 gigs on one Saturday. So I started sending out other musicians, and then it, snowballed. And then in 2000, I actually realized I needed a business license. I needed business insurance. I needed to pay taxes properly, and did all of that. And then we started supplying talent of every genre, of every discipline, from local to headline talent. And in 2015, we started producing events as well. So we have those 2 divisions. I started with no money. I totally bootstrapped it. I didn't even know you could get money to start a business. I had no idea. I didn't ask friends or family. I didn't do any, fundraising. I didn't actually need any money, to tell you the truth. So
why did you not need money to tell?
Well, because at first it was word of mouth. So I didn't have to do any marketing. And then when I started taking out, now this was the pivotal moment where I started getting scale. And I would take out a 1/4-page ad in a wedding magazine. And back then, there really wasn't the access to the web yet. And magazines were the only place that brides found their stuff, and wedding shows. So I just put whatever profit that I had outside of what I was making. And I worked a day job, or depends on what year it was, waitress job or day job in advertising and marketing. So I wasn't using the money from the gigs necessarily to survive quite yet. So I just put all the money back into whatever marketing and advertising I needed. And back then, that was it was a fire hose of calls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I am so glad it worked out, because you have grown into just a force of nature, particularly in the Bay Area, but throughout the events community. And what you do goes beyond a business, right? You really elevate everyone that you touch. How have you been able to do so much with the same 24 hours each of us get every day?
Well, I have an answer for that. And I think I'm in a special place in my life where my daughter is 29. She's out in the world. She actually works for Entire Productions now. I don't have a spouse or partner, and I don't have the kind of responsibilities that so many other people have. I had Bennett very young. And so I get to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And it just so happens that I love what I do. So it's a hobby, it's a vocation, it's a career, it's a passion. And I might work a little too much. I'm just going to put that out there. When I burn out, I take some time. It's not the normal amount of time that other people want or need. And also, I'm just a little bit of a strange bird. I hate vacations. Literally, you could give me a round trip free, $100 million trip to anywhere fantastic. and I would likely turn it down.
Because you love what you do.
I love what I do. And I'm also a bit of a homebody introvert, which you would never understand because I'm outgoing. I spend a lot of time alone. So that is the perfect combination for getting so much done.
And you also decided in your spare time to write a couple of books. How did that come about?
Well, the first book is the story of my life, and it's quite a tragic story, but has a great ending. But the first half of the book is like, heartbreaking. And I needed to do it. For so many reasons. But the second book specifically, I saw that people, and we really talked to one certain demographic in this book, and it's inside corporate event planners, producers, directors, people that work in HR or marketing, whoever's responsible for their company to do these events, both internally and externally. I just saw that there was a little bit of a break between them and who they report to, and then them and the event, because the person they report to and the person that they report to, they might have some idea of what they want for this event. And then when it gets down to the actual event, there's a little bit of a lack of communication. And I kind of uncovered why.
Well, and do tell, because I think that is the biggest challenge planners face. Is it's listed as one of the most stressful professions.
Yes.
And yet when I talk to them, what's keeping them up at night is not, worried about they're going to get their event rained out or all the inevitable changes that happen because we deal with humans. It's the lack of respect they feel that they get from their executives, and most of their families don't even understand what they do. So what is causing this disconnect?
The worst thing that you could say to someone who produces, especially corporate events, is, "Oh, you're a party planner."
Mm-hmm.
That's like a dagger. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a party planner. That's amazing. It actually has a lot of same intricacies, but the end result isn't necessarily tied to something that could change the world or, that can make a huge difference in lives. So I think that lack of respect is the lack of education, the lack of that person understanding not only their value, but being able to explain it and speak in a way where immediately that role, whatever they're called, is elevated. And someone, at their level or above is, "Oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine doing what you do." So they have to spin the narrative and be able to talk about what their value is, what their expertise is, why it matters. And also in the book, I talk about getting a seat at the table, which I think can come before all of what I just said. And that is, first of all, I interviewed a bunch of people about this. This is not just my opinion. It is also my opinion. I had a sneaking suspicion, but if you're well-rounded, so you can be a great event producer planner, but you need to know about strategy, design, marketing, sales. You need to understand that somewhere above you, there's a KPI and an ROI for this specific event happening. If not, it should be their responsibility to say, "Breaks. I don't understand what we're doing, why we're doing this event. Can you tell me what is the biggest ROI that you're looking for? And are there secondary and tertiary numbers?" By the time it gets to the event planner in these companies, you can imagine the CMO or the marketing department or the sales department or whoever's the lead. They had an idea of what they wanted to do. Then they brought it down to whomever, who may have brought it down then to the event planner. But that's a game of telephone, and everyone's moving so fast that the event planner might have gotten an eighth of what they really need. But it's their responsibility then to say, "I need to be in that meeting. It is going to be to your best interest that I'm in that marketing meeting or that I'm in that strategy meeting so that I can absorb what you're trying to do." And I think a lot of these roles aren't invited, and they don't invite themselves.
And once they know, they can speak in the language of the KPI so that they are respected based on the needs of those executives.
Can you imagine if an executive received from the event planner a matrix or a dashboard and said, "Okay, I understand these are the ROI. This is number 1. This is number 2, number 3. And these are the KPIs we are going to plan for in advance and measure against not only right after the event, but 3 months after, 6 months after, 9 months after." Do you think that executive would say, "You're a party planner, aren't you?" No. Nuh-uh.
Yeah. So they would both get the respect and the voice, because it's one thing to be in the room and it's another to be heard and to be able to speak the language.
Absolutely. And I don't think you need to be outspoken or outgoing. In fact, I've seen in my own, back in the day, I've had my company for 25 years. I used to think that the strongest people or the strongest salespeople, the flamboyant, the outgoing, the loudest, the most, convincing. And I have realized, and I realized this a while ago, it's not just recent. However, I have a few people on my team right now. They're quiet as a mouse and they are killer. So you don't have to be like, well, I'm not outgoing and I'm not, you have to have some self-respect and self-confidence to be able to use your personality and put your toe, then your foot, then your whole body in the door.
And you have to deliver. So one of the things I love about your book is that it has the word mastery in the title, right? So I think understanding that it takes a very sophisticated skill set to pull off what meeting organizers do. Give me some truth bombs from the book that you're going to drop on us that are going to help us be masters.
Right. I think, you've heard the adage of 10,000 hours makes you an expert in something. And then there's been studies that say actually not, because you could do 10,000 hours on something and you could do it wrong, or you could, there's so many different things. And I've seen people become masters at their craft in a very short amount of time. And maybe that's, 2 prongs of a 300-prong, ultimate master. But that's a good way to start, right? Is really don't see a lot of deep diving into education. However, with AI, it's so easy to get in there and, like a surgeon, open up what you're trying to find out and pull out the resources. Now that reminds me that one of the biggest challenges that these event producers had, I thought it was chaos. I thought it was systems and processes. It absolutely wasn't. It was the lack of support. There are people, 1 to 2 to 3 people in a division handling 50 to 150 events a year. Now, those aren't all large scale necessarily, but even a meeting, a dinner, an all hands breakfast or something, that still has logistics to it. So anyway, back to mastery is, I think, obviously a passion usually is involved in mastery, the experience and the time spent in doing the thing. The most important thing is in that experience, experiencing all the things that are going to go wrong or the challenges, because they're absolutely going to happen. And the reason why it is so stressful, but we just we go right into it because that's all we want, right? Is we know how to overcome those stressful things. Now, some people may overcome those stressful things with a lot of panic and stress and disorder and loud yelling and such. And then there's another way to deal with it. And various shades of dealing with it. But I think if you become a master, you know that those things are going to happen and you are mentally and physically prepared for them. And this is what I like to do at Entire Productions, is that when we have a full event production client, at the very beginning, we set the expectation and we say to them, I know that events have a million things going on and a lot of changes happen, especially last minute. We're going to ask you to not make any changes 2 weeks before the event. Nothing. You get a $100,000 sponsor. Your CEO wants to change the slides. I understand that everyone expects that. But if you allow us to close the books on that event 2 weeks before, then we can have everything tied up. And then we have the bandwidth mentally and physically to take care of whatever that big thing is that there's no way to know what it is. We'll handle it with grace at that.
And does it work? Do they agree?
It's worked. They've agreed. And I found that the people with the larger budgets, like in the 1 million or more, that's an internal event. So they're celebrating their team or they're revving them up. Those are the people that we've had the most success with. So larger budgets, internal. I can't really say that for the external facing events quite yet.
They're their own animal, right?
It makes sense. And we understand why people do those last minute things, but as long as we keep letting them, they're going to keep doing it. And when we show them the value of not doing that, then we've trained them. Shh, don't tell them.
You develop trust, right? Once they've experienced that, they can trust. So you mentioned the AI word. I just keep wondering. So what I keep hearing is that AI is going to take the mundane tasks so we can focus on what's important. What is it that you think is being left behind now that planners don't spend enough time on, that once they have AI writing their marketing and setting their airline schedules, that they'll be able to really just master?
Well, I do think that AI is likely, and this is kind of a general thing, but I'm going to put myself out on a limb here. I think it should take care of that 80% of what you do on a day-to-day basis.
80%? Wow.
For a lot of roles that doesn't take your creativity, your deep knowledge and experience. However, AI can tune for that, right? It can tune for experience, especially if you're building a custom GPT with all of your information in it. And that leaves the 20% of the most important things, the most crucial things, that is your personality, that is your design, that's your creativity, that's your own lived experience. It's your gut instinct. And can you imagine just a life? Let's just go outside of events and talk about life. If you didn't have to go to the dentist, make any kind of arrangements, if you didn't have to brush your teeth, if you didn't have to do all these things, your laundry, your dry cleaning, mowing the lawn, all that stuff that takes up so much time, what on earth would you be able to achieve?
My goodness.
Right? So I kind of look at AI in a similar fashion within this conversation, that it should be taking care, it should be just clearing the slate of all that stuff. And I actually use AI all of the time. And I also find myself almost doing stuff, the 80%. I'll start doing a task that I really should have asked AI to do, and I'll catch myself and go, oh my gosh, if I'm using AI as much as I am, and I am still about to waste time doing something that AI could do, then can you imagine what everyone else in the world is doing that isn't as fervent, hasn't taken AI under their wings as I have. And I just got back from a program at MIT in Boston with 65 fellow entrepreneurs. One guy had a business with 60,000 employees. So the bottom rung is a $1 million company and up to $1 billion or whatever. I ended up mentoring dozens of fellow entrepreneurs in very different kinds of businesses on how to use AI in their company.
Wow.
Now, I'm sure you're going, how could they be a successful business person and not know that already? And these people are from all over the world. And some of them were using the AI a little bit. And I was actually surprised when I talked to a guy. He sat down next to me and he said, okay, I said, what's your business? And he said, oh, I own an IT consulting firm. And I'm thinking, oh God, he knows more than I do. And I was able to help him because of the thought process I had. So why I'm saying this is, I know AI is very prevalent, and especially on the coasts, people are getting into it. I really think you've got to get in there and figure out how it can help you in your role. And JT, I hope you're okay with this, but I can give you a prompt that I gave my team, and I made every single one of my team, regardless of their role. So accounting, bookkeeping, sales, marketing, event coordinators, event producers. I gave them a prompt that basically said to ask AI how they can use AI in their role. And they list the 5 main things that they do and that you can also put in your job description. And then everyone had to report to their manager what they found. And that manager's prompt was to ask them, did they have any aha moments, like mind blown? Or if they saw mostly of things that they were doing, is there anything that they would double down on or such? And I think anyone listening to this podcast, if they have not done that yet for their own role, it would probably be a really good benefit.
I love that. That's
Is this
so
turned
smart.
into an AI podcast? I don't know.
It's taken over the world, so it may as well be part of our podcast, right? Yeah. I mean, we just had our innovation experience. It was all types of innovation, including tech and AI. And, and at the end of the day, it all just comes back to if we can make more time for the human interactions, right? Mm-hmm. If I can get AI to do my expenses for me, I can spend more time talking to Natasha and Eming, because that's what I really want to do, right?
1,000%. And thankfully, let's just all take a moment to thank AI, because what AI is going to do for our industry is make it explode even further, because we won't be able to tell the difference online. Mm-hmm. So in the future, I could have this podcast with you, JT, you could be sleeping. It could be your avatar with what you've set up. And not only just the questions that you've asked, but you can have a whole GPT that was would be able to respond to me and have this conversion. I wouldn't be able to tell if it was you or not.
And it might be our two avatars talking to each other. We're both sleeping.
Absolutely. And so that will make events in person, not only for that connection, but to be able to prove the reality. Yes. So hold on, people.
Totally agree. Events are going to have an even more important role. I mean, we thought COVID taught us how important face-to-face is.
This is our second push. So COVID really showed the importance of in-person. And we're back, even with the economy as crazy as it is in our politics world, we're back. And then this other thing is going to be another huge push for us. Unfortunately, though, for some of our vendor suppliers, it's going to be their COVID, right? The AI is really going to hamper some of these businesses, and they're going to have to learn how to use AI to their advantage and then show their value in order to survive. But that's another podcast.
Well, and that does lead us to the reason that you're here. What is the one thing that made the biggest difference in your life and career, and how can our community apply that to their world?
The one biggest difference, and I can see it right now, is, I started my business in 2000. In 2015, I attended the 10,000 Small Businesses program through Goldman Sachs. Now, this may not, resonate with people that don't own their own businesses, but this is what happened. I got an excellent education in running a business. So to parlay that into people that are employees is get educated. Absolutely 100%. It took me from having a lifestyle business into a real business. And we can talk about what the difference is between those two things. But before, in general, I had 1 or 2 employees. Now I think I have 16 and hundreds of 1099 employees. But I didn't think I needed to be educated. I was okay having a lifestyle business and okay kind of winging it. Now I'm armed with all this incredible education and continue to be educated. So 2015 is that marker.
Tasha is a lifelong learner, and really everyone is the CEO of themselves, right? And it just so happens that we are launching the Event Boss Institute in San Francisco, August 15th. And that is going to be because we have heard from so many people at our events that they get laid off, or they're just not feeling that they're getting the respect they need from their company. And so they go out on their own. They are masters of putting on events, but they've never run a business before. And they need to know how to do taxes, so these are one-day workshops with accountants and lawyers and business development people, all about how to keep your pipeline full and leave there with the tools you need to take it to the next level.
Amazing. I really hope I'm a part of that. I believe I will be. I will make myself a part of it.
Believe you will be. We are partnering with Convene to go across the country with this. So super excited. Hopefully I see a lot of people, a lot of our listeners from the pod there. And I know I'll see you there, Natasha.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on the What One Thing podcast. Thank you for sharing all those mastery tips and a sneak peek at the resources that are going to be in the book. How can they get that book?
It's on Amazon. You can get it in paperback, hard copy, ebook, and Audible.
Oh, I'm a big audiobook person. I love that. Are you the narrator?
I actually am not. I was going to go into the studio and narrate it. I did narrate my first book. But AI has such a beautiful voice. On Amazon, you could choose from 62 different voices. I really wanted to have that sexy British male accent, but I decided to go with someone else's. And there have been a handful of people that have told me they listened to it and not one has said, "That's not you, is it?" Or they didn't say anything negative. And hopefully, for those that want to or need to listen to it, they think it's wonderful.
Nice. Well, hopefully everyone can go out and get it in whatever format works for them, right? No judgment here. We just want that knowledge from your brain and the brains of all the fabulous people you interviewed into their brain. It's a great book.
Yeah. I also want to say, JT, I forgot to mention this. There are a bunch of downloadable templates that I included in the QR code in the book that are free. And I will never be asking anyone to pay for them. It's not a bait lead magnet to get them to pay for these templates. And I worked really hard on them and we use them internally. So I think they're pretty valuable.
We love templates. That's great. Well, thank you again. Have a brilliant day. And to everyone out there in the What One Thing community, I hope you have a fabulous, masterful career. Smart Meetings, What One Thing was produced by Bright Business Media. Visit smartmeetings.com to subscribe to your daily dose of inspiration.